Welcome to another episode of the News Roundup. On today's show, we'll be discussing two stories. The first, out of California, involves a disturbing proposed bill which would allow children aged 12 and up to get the COVID-19 vaccine without parental consent. We'll discuss what's going on here. And then, in Australia, over 79,000 claims for, quote, COVID-19 vaccine injuries have been filed. We'll talk about what is going on here. And so, from Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and our episode starts now. So, California kids aged 12 and up could receive a COVID-19 vaccine without even telling their parents if a new legislative bill is successful. Democratic Senator Scott Weiner of San Francisco introduced Senate Bill 866 recently to enable this controversial option, one which many would consider a blatant state-level intrusion into family life. This bill would allow children 12 and up to be vaccinated against COVID-19 without the knowledge or consent of their own parents. According to the Democratic senator, this bill simply aligns with existing law allowing people as young as age 12 to make reproductive healthcare decisions, such as obtaining the human papillomavirus and hepatitis B vaccines. So, if this law is passed, children, again, many as young as 12, could access what is already available pop-up vaccination centers that are situated at schools now. This is controversial to say the least, and the introduction will undoubtedly lead to intense debate within Sacramento. Yet Senator Weiner is adamant, declaring upon his announcement of the bill that this is about empowering teenagers to make their own decisions on their own health and their own safety. Giving young people the autonomy to receive life-saving vaccines, regardless of their parents' beliefs or work schedules, is essential for their physical and mental health. It is unconscionable for teens to be blocked from the vaccine because a parent either refuses or cannot take their child to a vaccination site. And, on top of this past Wednesday, Senator Weiner and other Democratic lawmakers announced that they had formed a work group to examine ways to promote vaccines and fight what they call misinformation. However, according to the Associated Press, James Gallagher, Republican California Assemblyman, believes that Senator Scott Weiner's bill will have trouble passing, and was quoted as saying that, "I think there will be bipartisan support for the proposition that parents should be involved in their kids' health care decisions, in deciding what types of medical care and drugs they should be taking." Meanwhile, California's Governor Gavin Newsom last year announced the country's first coronavirus vaccine mandate for children in school, though it has not yet taken effect, and it would provide exemptions for religious beliefs and more. Now, children ages 5 and older are eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine across the country, and approximately 19% of children ages 5 to 11 are already fully vaccinated, according to the Mayo Clinic. Now, we here at Trial Site News believe that this bill will quite possibly lead to serious backlash, as a majority of citizens would want to keep decisions away from the state and instead stay in the hands of parents and the family. And of course, we will keep you posted on this story as it continues to develop. Now, for our next story, Australia is compensating COVID-19 vaccine patients for a serious adverse events. Australian news outlets report that the COVID-19 vaccines have led to at least 79,000 adverse reactions. Those patients claiming under 20,000 must provide evidence from their physician, and for those with more serious conditions leading to claims over 20,000, they require a review by a panel of legal experts. This is happening as more and more nations are acknowledging that these vaccines can possibly lead to injury and that those injured should be compensated. Now, Australia has embraced a harder, much more rigid approach to managing the pandemic than other nations, including some of the zero-tolerance COVID-19 approaches that we have seen in countries like China. And by this last summer, Australia began an aggressive mass vaccination scheme as well, which led to about 77% of the entire population being vaccinated with 42.6 million doses administered as of December 30th of 2021. Now, serious adverse events originating from COVID-19 vaccines are rare, but they do happen, and people are clamoring now to be compensated for the loss. Organized by Australia's national government, the COVID-19 vaccines contributed to the adverse events include the following: Vaxzevria, or AstraZeneca, Comirnaty, Pfizer, and Spikevax, which is Moderna. The government in Australia, unlike others such as here in the US, acknowledge that vaccines can have side effects or adverse events, while they declare that most of these events will be mild and resolved in a matter of days. They do acknowledge, however, that some can be more severe. So, now the question is, who monitors the adverse events in Australia? Well, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, or TGA, is the organization that closely monitors adverse events for suspected side effects, and have, in many cases, come to conclusions that often finds that the adverse events are not caused by the vaccine itself, which some critics have suggested is partially due to not-so-subtle pressure to find reasons not to connect the causation. Now, the Australian Adverse Event Compensation Program scheme oversees the cost of injuries of 1,000 and above due to the administration of TGA-approved COVID-19 vaccine or due to an adverse event that is caused by a COVID-19 vaccination. The list of adverse effects for claims purposes under the scheme includes the following clinical conditions that are diagnosed by a treating doctor and are included in the approved product information for the specific vaccine, and include anaphylactic reaction, thrombosis, myocarditis, and pericarditis. Now, specified administration-related injuries, which are clinically diagnosed, will also be covered under the scheme. Now, for claims between $1,000 and $20,000, claimants need to have been hospitalized for at least one night and provide applicable evidence of the nature of the injury and medical documentation of its likely relationship to a COVID-19 vaccination, hospitalization due to a vaccine-related injury, medical costs, and lost wages. The hospitalization requirement can be waived if outpatient treatment is received and the COVID-19 vaccine recipient was not admitted to the hospital when they otherwise would have been because either of the nature of the clinical condition or the recipient was in a rural area or remote area, making it difficult to access a hospital. Claims relating to death, however, will not require evidence of hospitalization. And of course, we will keep you posted on this story as it continues to develop. And that, my friends, brings our episode to a close once more. As always, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. From Trial Site News, I am Adrian, and I will see you all